Hi everyone, Monique here again. Welcome back if you're a subscriber, and welcome to my channel if you're new here. I'm going to continue on today with the series Transit Pluto with hard, challenging aspects to the natal sun. So today, Pluto is moving direct, and it is at 26 degrees 8 minutes of Capricorn, and it is conjuncting my natal sun of 26 degrees 50 minutes in my natal 6th house. If you're having a challenging aspect, I really want to reach out to you. I understand I've been through 15 years of this challenge. My Mercury is also in Capricorn at 14 degrees. So I totally understand, and I have great compassion for you. Please subscribe, because I'm going to make a whole series and unpack these challenging aspects. My intention is for when Pluto goes into Aquarius. So this is for Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. However, having Pluto in late degrees of Capricorn, I'm finding that Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, and Libra are benefiting from these videos as well. So feel free to comment, and also if there's any videos or subjects regarding Pluto or anything else for that matter. I've been a spiritual seeker all my life. Please pop that in the comments box. I'm starting a little list of these videos from the viewers, and I'd be happy to share my experience, strength, and hope with you. So today's video is on isolation, and I've also called it invisibility, because having the Pluto transit to my Mercury and Sun, some days I just felt invisible. I would walk out into society and I seriously felt invisible. I could be sitting with a few people and I even felt overlooked. I felt like people were talking to others and not to me. So that was very interesting. But it's the isolation that I really want to look at today. Now, this video follows on from the video I made on loss and sacrifice. So we lose through Pluto, through grief, health, family. We can lose work, career, our money, our financial situation, and our friends. We can lose our community, and that causes great grief. The grief comes up from, the loss can come from left field, or the loss can be something that you've sacrificed through awareness that those things needed to leave your life for you to move forward in power. So when this grief comes up from the loss, many of us can go into isolation. Now, this is self-isolation. Most of the world has experienced shutdowns and isolation, but they were opposed to us. So this is an isolation that happens with Pluto, because we feel so much grief and so much distrust of ourselves that we go into hiding. Now, something that comes up with Pluto is fear. All of the fears that we've shut down, we've acted out of our ego. We weren't even aware that we were afraid, and we were bravado and acting out of our ego. That the ego is what Pluto requires us to lose. Isn't the word, but to become empowered and to not act from our false ego, you could say. The isolation can come from loneliness when we lose our family, our friends, and the fear can have us locking ourselves away in our homes because we just don't trust the world anymore. We don't trust ourselves. We have no power. It's almost like going into the cave. And that's what Pluto requires for us to do, is to go into the cave, because it's in the cave that we find our true light. I had put myself in isolation for at least 6 years, and I felt safe in that isolation. I didn't trust myself. I had lost everything. You talk about the Midas touch. I think I've said I had the devil's touch. Everything I touched, I just couldn't manifest anymore, and that's what Pluto required. When we're not in isolation, we can live our life using people, places, and things to keep us busy so that there is no self-reflection, to have our egos believe that we're doing okay. But with this challenging Pluto transit, it becomes very clear that we are not doing okay. It's a time to release in the cave. It's a time to reflect, and it's a time to study. Now, what would we want to study? Well, this video would be something that I would have looked at in my isolation, because I was searching for answers and for others that had experienced these very challenging aspects. Something I did do after about 2 years isolation is I joined a 12-step group. I've been a part of 12-step groups for over 30 years. But I found a 12-step group called Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families. And that allowed me to do 5 years of inner child work, shadow work. It was a great program. I was supported with other people who were also in isolation. That was really fascinating, that the pain from the childhood patterns and from not having my power and going out into the world and still not having my power, people pleasing, many dysfunctional behaviors and traits that I took on, also led to the isolation. I just gave up. I can't do this world, is what I thought. So I took 5 years while I was in isolation to do that work. And I didn't go to face-to-face meetings. I did it on Zoom. So when the pandemic started and everybody started to come onto Zoom, I'd already been on Zoom for a few years. And I started doing service as well. So I was helping others, which is very important to heal, is to help others. And that was fantastic. Now, I know there's inner child programs out there. I'm not saying ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, is the answer. There's many other programs out there that will trigger you, us, to question and reflect on our childhood and the parenting that we received. I'm not blaming our parents. My issues that Pluto helped me with go right back to my ancestors. I'm an Australian Indigenous woman, and I could see that a lot of the issues that I had were reflected in my ancestors. And I knew, as a spiritual seeker, light worker, earth angel, whatever you want to call yourself, starseed, whatever you are, I could see that I was here with this challenging Pluto transit to help heal my ancestry lineage. So in the isolation, that allowed me to look at all of that work. I couldn't hold a job because of the emotional energy that was coming up and out of my body. This is another reason for isolation, to have the space to be able to wake up in the morning and just cry, if that's what was required to release energy. And the grief that I had shut down all my life, operated from my ego, soldiered on, hit myself up against wall after wall after wall. The isolation was the period of time that Pluto required for me to release a lifetime of grief. And I believe many lifetimes of grief, because Pluto works on the soul. So many past lives that I'd lived and had patterns in my soul, you could say, that I was acting out from in this life, fears that I had. Some fears are projected from our caregivers. Other fears were from my soul. So that all needed to be looked at. Now, in the isolation, it's uncharted waters, because it's different to the life that we have led. My Pluto transit started in my early 40s. So I had gone 40 years acting out of my ego, bravado, and pushing down my true self. Now, coming back to the power, in the 12-step groups, we use the word powerless. In the isolation, you come to realize that the ego cannot power up anymore. The energy isn't there for that. I was a very reactive person. My inner child was wounded, and I used to come from reactions. So Pluto is a healer in the sense that now I'm able to respond. I'm able to be aware of the triggers. My whole emotional body woke up from 40 years of having my emotional body shut down and living in the pain body. The fear, people, places, and things. Because when the loss happens, powerless, absolutely powerless. I did jump. There is distractions in the isolation, because some of us have addictions. I ate a lot of food. I put on a lot of weight. Other addictions that I had dealt with in 12-step programs for over 30 years all rose up. I allowed that to happen because I knew there was method in Pluto's madness. Going to a 12-step program, I felt for myself personally, it was a must. Whereas once the transit of Pluto and the isolation, I was able to see, as I came back into my power, that I choose from my own inner power that I do not want to pursue these addictions. And because of the cleanup that Pluto does, they're no longer needed. I don't need those addictions anymore. So social media can be something that we're all can be addicted to. And in the isolation, you could find yourself scrolling. I got to a point where I wouldn't even comment, because I was so frightened of somebody saying something back to me, totally without power I was. And I would post, beautiful pictures, believing that I was helping humanity with my wisdom to date from my spiritual seeking. However, I soon realized after a couple of years, no, I had to let that go and reflect on myself, leave the collective for the moment, until now, of course, and just focus on myself, my inner child, allowing the emotions to come up. Many times I felt like I was crazy. And I didn't have videos like this to be supported by other people that have had this Pluto experience. I've been I've studied astrology for 40 years. And a lot of the astrology videos are textbook. Astrologers know what a Pluto transit is like, but actually feeling it and undergoing that Pluto transit, the best people probably you could talk to is Sagittarians and Scorpions, if they remember that, and their opposites and their squares to Sagittarius and Scorpio. In the isolation, there were many days, most days, where I had suicidal thoughts. I knew I wasn't going to act on those thoughts, but I just felt I just wanted to be taken off this planet. The pain was so unbearable, excruciating is the word I have been known to use, that the suicidal thoughts came up. Now, those suicidal thoughts didn't come up when I was down shopping or at the beach. They were when I was in the cave, because of the aloneness that is felt when you are in the isolation. I had apathy. So even my mind, being a Capricorn, being ambitious, I wanted to do so much, but the physical energy, the motivation, the passion, I just didn't have that available to me. I was debilitated. Pluto can debilitate you, and that's what's needed, because when you're a get up and goer, it's very easy to change our situation, our feelings by doing, but the debilitation that comes with a challenging Pluto transit, it just has you stuck, is another key word for a challenging Pluto transit. So even though I wanted to come out of this isolation, I wanted to come out of the cave, I actually couldn't see myself ever coming out of the cave. There was no light at the end of that very dark tunnel. We are in the underworld. We are in the darkness. And I felt weak energetically. Because I have Pluto in the 6th house, the last 3 years, I have embarked on a regular exercise program. And that is part of my healing, because I love my gym community. I've never been a gym goer, but I found a great gym, family operated, love the people there. And now that's a regular practice of my life. But health rules the 6th house, where my natal sun is. So, that's very important. And that's what I needed to do, is to get that health program underway and make it a part of my life. Not just a part of my Pluto transit, but this is something that I need to move forward with. But I love it because I'm not in isolation anymore. Monday night, I'm part of Hash House Harriets, which is a worldwide walking, running group, which I love. Excuse me. It's not a spiritual group, but that's good for me, that not everything is about spiritual work. It's light, it's easy, and I go along and enjoy that on Monday evening. Friday, they get together for lunch. I do that. I'm out in the community. I've also this year started teaching meditation and dance, movement. I was a dancer. Well, with the Pluto, I haven't danced or taught dance or been involved with dance for decades, because slowly, I was shut down by being not in my power and acting out in my ego. So the suggestions from myself is meditation. When you're in isolation, you've got plenty of time to meditate. Journaling with the inner child work, there's a lot of journaling required. And there's questions that can trigger your inner child work. However, what I found with Pluto is that these things would just pop up. Memories would just pop up from my subconscious, and I would look back and I'd be able to reflect and see where my caregiving and different things that I've done, where I've acted out in life dysfunctionally, I could see where I had handed over my power to others. I was very much a people pleaser. That was what I was trained to do. You have plenty of time in isolation to study this Pluto transit, which will trigger and give you awareness and aha moments, which is the healing process. It's very hard, but I'm going to suggest there's only one thing, and that's acceptance. Acceptance and not resisting this Pluto transit. Accepting that you're in isolation for as long as it takes. Pluto's the boss. Our ego has no say here. And if we attempt to step out in our ego, bang, I was smashed down. But I was debilitated, so I really didn't have the energy to go and do this, so I could avoid Pluto. I felt weak. I didn't have the passion. I didn't have the energy. It's a challenging time in life, but I'm really grateful. Pluto will be exact my natal sun. It's only 42 minutes away at the moment, but last night I had 2 Pluto dreams. The sun at the moment, October 2022, the sun is making its last square to Pluto on my natal sun that I will have to experience, because Pluto is going to move forward now into Aquarius next year, 2023, and then it will retrograde back to the late degrees of Capricorn. I'm going to do a video on those dates, and then forward full time into Aquarius. So last night I had 2 very dark dreams. I'm going to give a trigger warning here, because I'm happy to share what a dark Pluto dream is. I don't remember that many of them, so it's interesting that I woke up after both these dreams, and I remembered these dreams. I wasn't afraid of these dreams. I knew that these dreams came to me to, I can't even say whether I can analyze these dreams. So if anybody out there can analyze these dreams, that's fine. I just saw the darkness. And I also saw my power, my inner power in these dreams. As I said, the first dream, I'm a part of Hash House Harriets. In the dream, there was one woman who I sat with last night at Hash House Harriets, and she's a Scorpio woman, and we talked a lot. She was in my dream. And Hash House Harriets, you never know the run you're going to do. Somebody sets the run and off you go. So I don't have power on where we're going, what we're doing. I'm with the group. So in the dream, I believe we were in a group. We do go away sometimes. And I've been on a mystery tour with these people where I didn't know where we were going on the bus, totally handing over my power. It was fantastic anyway. And we were walking through this town area, and I looked across, and there was a woman who was cut down halfway from her thighs. So she had no lower legs from halfway down her thighs, and her head was down, and she was serving these men. And she looked very frightened, and there were whipping marks across her belly. And she looked up at me, and I looked at the men, and inside of me was my sacred feminine. How dare they? I didn't know where I was. I kept walking. I was with this woman, and we came across people who were beautifully dressed in powerful clothes. And I said to her, "Where are we?" She said, "We're on the border of Mexico." My power rose up, and I said, "I didn't give permission for us to be here." Anyway, the leader, very dark. They were like, not that I'd know or experience people like this in my circle, but they were like underworld figures, and they required her and I to dance. And she said, just do it and maintain your power, otherwise you'll be killed. And then I woke up. So it was very interesting to me, that dream. The second dream was a sex dream. Pluto rules sex. And in this dream, I've abstained from any sexual partners for, the last 6 years. So I'm very happy to abstain. But this sex dream really blew my mind. And my mother was there naked with this other tattooed woman. It was just sex. And, that's really interesting to me. They're Pluto dreams. So they're very dark. We're going into the underworld. And the beauty about going into the underworld is that if we were naive before this Pluto transit, we certainly aren't afterwards. There is darkness on this planet, and we get to choose if we want to walk in the light or walk in the dark. I'm not making judgment on that. You can walk in the light or walk in the dark. And I feared the darkness. I had many experiences of being chased. This is awake. There was some, I'll make a video about the darkness. So I'll leave it there with that, and I will make another video about the darkness, because that is what comes up with the challenging Pluto transit. If you've been living in naivety, that, oh, that couldn't happen and that couldn't happen, in your Pluto transit, you will be shown the darkness on planet, and that darkness is in humanity. No judgment, no judgment. We cannot say they're right, they're wrong, because we have all of that within us, and we may not act on it, but we have it within us. And Pluto, a challenging aspect to Pluto, will show us that. So I'm really grateful. I'm coming to the end of my Pluto journey. However, I have Venus and Mars in Aquarius in the 7th house. So no doubt I'm going to learn all about power in relationships, having Venus and Mars in the 7th house. And, you know, I'll stick with these Pluto videos as long as my higher self requires me to. I just want to say I love you all, and thank you. Thank you so much for your beautiful comments. Please help me help others and subscribe. I'm not going to hit you with too many videos, and you can choose whether you want with their relative to you or not. So please like, share. If you know somebody who's going through a hard Pluto aspect, if you're cross-watching, as they say, it's a partner or what have you. The beautiful birds have come to say hello. They don't do that very often, so that's very special to me. They're the coloured lorikeets that we have here in Australia. So I'm very grateful, and thank you all very much for watching.